Hi there, guys. It's Metro, and we're back. And today we're taking a look at the Spires of Ascension. Now, up until about a month ago, I literally had not entered this dungeon. And after doing a lot of testing in it, I feel really confident. So, me, Sizemgul, Sarah, Latsu, and a friend of his, Brian, all got together to do some 15s this last Monday. And I'll tell you what, these are really hard. I still am kind of in awe of the people who are doing like 20s in time. I don't understand how it's even possible because a lot of these mechanics were like coming close to one-shotting us in some dungeons. And yeah, we're going to take a look at this dungeon. We actually finish it. It is not even close to on time. Took us almost 2 hours, but I think I learned a lot about this dungeon. So right out of the gate, you're going to see some peculiar trash compositions. There's a lot of casters in all of BF or all of Shadowlands in general, but even this dungeon has a lot of different things that you're going to need to interrupt. And this one here ability, the Rebellious Fist on this Forsworn Goliath, it's a big robot. You can technically pull it alone from this trash. But otherwise, these other mobs here that are casting that Dark Lash, Castigator, something like that, they're going to do an ability that does a lot of damage as well. Burden of Knowledge there. Now, I believe it's dispellable. And the Goliath, if that gets off, it's going to do a ton of magic damage too. So right out of the gate, you're going to see a lot of kind of onus on making sure you're getting interrupts. And not necessarily, I don't know, like there's been a lot of talk about like favoring range this expansion. I feel like a lot of people are going to be heavily range comp now. And then but basically, so when these mobs are like a huge damage sponge because they do this mechanic here where they have like a shield that's put on them, and we tried to break it. We put all of our damage into one of them, and we did not break the shield before the cast of it expired. So yeah, I don't know exactly how that's going to work, but basically same thing up here. 3 of these mobs, one of them's the Castigator again. There's other things going on. The Mender, I mean, it sounds like it's trying to heal based on the name, but I didn't actually see any issues with actual healing. There is a lot of healing in later parts of the dungeon, but Forsworn Doctrine, that actually is the main thing. You just want to keep that. I think it's dispellable or something like that, but otherwise a couple key interrupt targets on these early packs, and really the more interrupts you can do, the better it feels like on a lot of this trash. There's a lot of really peculiar things going on in this dungeon too, so but yeah, the first thing you're going to see here is that you actually have to take this, it's like NPC that's like a Kyrian, and she's going to fly you across, which obviously is helpful. That's how you get through the dungeon. And this is something to think about here. Like this adds time. We talked about this together, and for the way I felt about it was like it's just like you're just wasting time. Sizable was like, I bet they added all this time together and just increased the timer by that much. It's possible, certainly, but I would not be surprised, especially if you wipe and have to take it a couple times. I would not be surprised at all if it causes a lot of problems. So, okay, so right now you see a very difficult pack, but what's more important is that you're going to see Prideful coming up. So if you're watching or thinking about Prideful for the first time in this video, it's every 20% it spawns a giant mob. That mob is incredibly dangerous on its own. And this was in a 15, and we almost wiped to the Prideful mob every time it spawned. So it's definitely difficult. And if you have it with another pack, it's going to be extremely difficult. So again, we have the priority interrupts happening here. But the main thing here is that we just want to finish this pack without a bunch of mobs still left when 20% ticks over. So you might want to start thinking about this, like where are you going to get 20%, 40%, etc. count? And for our group, there's nothing you can do here. I don't think you can really shroud this pack or anything because the boss is right next to it. But yeah, one way or the other, like say the big guy probably gives more count than the small guys. I don't know this for sure, but there's probably it doesn't all give the exact same amount of count. It doesn't all give 1%, which is exactly what you would want with 5 mobs. One probably gives 3, another probably gives 2 or something like that. So ideally you want to kill those targets either last or first in a way that you won't have the hardest target with the Prideful mob that's going to slow it down. So the way it's worked out here is the big robot is actually the least dangerous, but the biggest damage sponge. So this works out really well for us because we can just literally keep that thing alive the whole time without any penalty. And then we just, take it alongside the Prideful mob. And yeah, to no real detriment to our comp here. But yeah, you're going to see a lot about Ellie Shaman in this video, man. I'll tell you what, Ellie Shaman is looking really good. Latsu, good player, but I have not seen anybody play Ellie, and I've certainly not seen anybody do the burst that he's capable of doing. And then Sizable playing Bombkin again, his original character from BFA, so good to see that too. Played it well. But yeah, you see, so there's just this one mob left. It's the Goliath. Very, very, very easy to survive. No detriment to us whatsoever. Manifestation Pride is out. And you see he's got that shield up. So it's like, just forget about it. Now, again, if you haven't seen Prideful yet, it's going to shoot out a kind of like a cross from the player. It's like a cardinal direction, and it's not really based on where you're facing or anything like that. It's just like a cardinal direction that WoW has designated. So what I'd say the best option here is just whoever gets it, just stand still, and the other 4 players make sure they don't get hit. But as you see, we constantly keep hitting. Especially with melee, it's quite difficult to avoid if it's on the tank. So yeah, you know, like I can't move. Realistically, if I move, the mob is going to move, and then the whole group is going to shift with that in mind. So it's not really an option here, but now once you kill the mob, you get a massive mana buff. The buff is like you're going to go from 0 to full mana in just a few seconds, but more so you get a massive damage buff. I believe it's like 30%, something like that. You also get a big speed buff. So we're positioning, going for the first boss. Now this boss is actually really interesting. The main mechanic here is that there's 2 targets, and you see they're tethered together with that line, that white line there. I actually run through that white line, and if you see, I have a debuff because of that. So if you're standing in that line connecting the 2 mobs, you're getting a stacking debuff. You don't want to do that. I did that on early pulls of this boss, and it really does a lot of damage. I believe it's Shadow, so I can AMS, but definitely it's avoidable. So wherever the mob moves, sometimes as a tank especially, you're not really going to be in a great position. Like it's going to try to move behind you, and you won't have that option. So you see how much damage we're doing with Bloodlust. We still have the buff for another 20 seconds. We're absolutely annihilating this boss. But there we go. Already you see. So I believe what killed him was not just the spear. You see this charged spear ability does an insane amount of damage, and this on a 15 without Tyrannical. So I just can't understand how people are doing this on over a 20, unless, you know, especially if they're doing it with Tyrannical. I don't see how it would even be possible. Literally almost one-shot people. But he did also get hit by this attenuation barrage. So you're going to see these 3 kind of black things coming out. You're seeing it up here, right? They're shooting out kind of just at a player, and then there's 3 of them. This is actually a common theme. It's going to be present on the second boss too, but realistically, you just dodge them, very easy. And then when he throws the spear, it does unavoidable damage. We tried everything, like blink and all that. It doesn't work. You get hit by it regardless, but the thing is it leaves a little puddle on the ground here, so if you get hit by that too, then you take even more damage. So obviously you want to be moving. Just don't move into somebody else. We did that a couple times where I got it and I ran on top of someone else, or they were running on me, whatever, and it hit both of us, and that's really bad. So but yeah, anyway, you want to make sure that you do not kill one of these faster than the other, and that's kind of a problem because the bird has like a third of the health of Kintara. So we'd done this a lot last night. We wanted to practice it, and we had this like, I don't know, this guy had no idea what he was doing. He wasn't listening to chat either. We actually had to kick him. He was playing a hunter, no surprise, and he was just channeling all his damage into Azulas, which is the bird. We actually were wiping to it. The guy had no idea. He wasn't listening, so we actually had to kick the guy. So that's something to think about. It's not unlike Trixie and Nana, or whatever the fight is in Workshop there, or a Junkyard that is, where if you kill one, the other enrages. But this is way more dangerous because it's not just like an enrage. It's like the mechanics happen way freaking faster, and they do 30% more damage. So it's a mistake you're not going to recover from, and you're going to see us make it here, which is awesome. We actually wipe at like 1% on this boss. So it's really crazy, honestly, how difficult these bosses were. But you see, we kill it, 13% left. It's got a debuff or a buff, whatever. It looks just like your standard Enrage from Druid, the old days Berserk or whatever it used to be called. And it does 30% more damage. And the main thing is the abilities happen way quicker. So the shield, the spear is happening way quicker. And most importantly, this tank mechanic. I haven't talked about it, but as you see, overhand smash. I mean, I just got absolutely annihilated. I cannot believe how hard I got hit. So you're going to see a lot of this tank damage on this fight. It's very predictable. The problem is it does a lot. So, I mean, has it even happened yet? I'm not sure what is and isn't. Here, let's do this. Let's go back a little bit in the fight, and we'll take a look at the actual. Well, actually, let's go to where we kill it. We could look at what it actually looks like with um, the regular non-buffed version. So here, this time, we just don't kill Azulas until this one's actually dead. So yeah, it's physical damage. It's 16,000 physical damage. I think I had a defensive up or something like that, but either way, 30% more. It's really, it can really challenge you if you're not full health. I mean, I have like 30-some thousand health, right? So that could easily be half your health pool, especially with the enrage. So that time, well, that's with the physical. It's hard to tell with just a weak aura, but as you see, that's what we do. We're only going to take this one. Look at that. Okay, that's a bit ridiculous there. Let's watch that again. Here it comes. I'm at full health, well, 97%, 12k at that point. And yeah, so we went from 12k to 65k. I think there was a melee as well. So it's probably about 40-some k. I get hit from about 97% to about 20% in one global. And that is, I'm pretty sure, yeah, you could actually see it up here. I have Rune Tap up. I only have 2 stacks of the D&D thing. That's an error on my part. I do have, a couple things going, but no actual defensives up. And I almost die there. Completely non-tyrannical, only level 15. So luckily we only have the 1 and, ready for it and Death Strike. So that's pretty crazy, really, honestly, crazy encounter. And I love, there's a lot of fights like this where they're just pure, like the tank mechanics, the tank portion is like huge, hard-hitting tank damage. Brewmaster, ironically, going to dominate this type of encounter. So now, there's 2 options. You can either go left or right here. I choose to go right here because I've gone left a lot, and there's these mobs that are just absolutely allergic to being in melee range. And even as a blood DK, it's a real pain in the ass. Like, they're constantly leaving melee range, and there's like 5 or 6 of them, maybe even more. So it's very difficult to pull them all because they're constantly spread out. If you have any melee at all, they're literally all going to be separated. So instead, what we have here is a bunch of mobs. They're called stealth claws. They're in actual stealth, and they're going to try to stun you. Now, I think the stun is based on if they get you in stealth, because when we did this, the previous attempt, I did not get stunned, but this time I do, and you're going to see just how bad this is. I only hit 2 of them. Yeah, and you see that stealth claw to the right comes out and stuns me, and that is GG. Now they're all going to be on me, and well, Sarah's actually just still drinking, so that was my fault. But regardless, that's what that looks like. So, very dangerous. Not very difficult. I mean, very kiteable. They're relatively. They don't do anything else. They're just in stealth. So good thing to have, I guess Demon Hunter or just a flare or something that can make sure you have them all and they're not causing problems. But you see they're doing a lot of damage. I'm taking, as you see, over 60k in 10 seconds. That's how that weak aura works, by the way. It's based on a 10-second interval. It shows you how much damage you've taken by type in 10 seconds. So I'm struggling to get threat back here, but as you see, Ellie Shaman looking good. So, but then again, we could have gone this way or to the left. Now, it's not just this pack. Originally, when I made this decision, it was because just that pack. The pack on the left is so annoying. I don't want to deal with it. But the rest of the stuff that we fight is different too. And one of the reasons, one of the things that's different here is this Dark Praetor. So this mob basically does this charge through wherever he's facing. I think in reality, what you want to do is not have him hit anybody else. So you want him to be facing a wall or something that will not be in danger of hitting others. But right now in the beta, you're going to see it's not a good idea to do that because he's going to get stuck in those structures. If he flies out of the area, he literally just stays out there. So really, obviously a bug, but it's not. It makes it a lot harder to do that mob type. It doesn't. It's probably the easiest mob type in here, frankly. So not really a concern. Now, again, there's more, there's kind of like 3 packs of trash on this side. It would be different on the left side, but it's still, a couple pulls. There's a stealth mob here too. So these little birds that are with this Praetor dude, they do a dot. You see it's a magic debuff. I think it's just a straight up dot. I'm not actually 100% sure, but it is dispellable. And then the stealth claws, they're also putting that bleed on me. So that's probably why I died in the previous pack, just that stacking bleed. Looks like a Feral Druid ability. So you don't think it's very good, but it is definitely better because it's not a Feral Druid. It's actually a cat. That's a real cat. So, but anyway, now here's a really crazy pack. It looks like it's crazier than it is, but it's 2 robots, 2 annihilators, and a Dark Praetor. So these, again, are massive damage sponges. They just take forever to die. This is a different type of robot than we've already fought as well. These ones do this dark salvo, which is just going to shoot out kind of arcane damage, I think it is. And if you get hit by it, you're going to take a lot of damage, but that's all they do. So they're actually extremely easy, but they're just huge damage sponges. And, you know, realistically, they're easy if you pull them normally. But if you were to say fight these with like 5 other mobs, it might be very difficult to dodge all of the mechanics at once. So it's actually very interesting design trash because they're like 0 danger whatsoever alone. And they just eat up. So look at how much. So we're burning this, right? That's 100% of our damage on that thing. And we failed to break the shield before it goes away. Now, it actually looked like the shield expired and then it took damage based on how much we did to it. It goes from 51. No, that's not what happened. Okay, so anyway, yeah, so I don't know. You're just kind of maybe encouraged to switch off it after the after the shield has gone up, because you're not going to break the shield realistically. But either way, maybe eventually you'll burn through it, no problem on some keys, and it won't be an issue. But let's keep moving here. So yeah, again, just the same trash, the Dark Praetor. Okay, yeah, so here we go. So here's another great example. So we killed that one robot, and now we have this other robot, 36%, completely trivially easy to survive, no problem whatsoever, as long as we dodge this stuff. And we have the Manifestation of Pride, which, of course, is also going to do damage. You see the DK as melee, very unfriendly type of content here that we're fighting. Very difficult. He can get hit by multiple things, and he's going to do just that. But yeah, and again, the longer you fight the Manifestation of the Pride, the more damage he starts to do. So that time, I tried to stay in line with where I was facing. It's up in the air. Like, is it my responsibility? Is it his responsibility? I hit him. He died. Well, he got stunned, and then he died because the Dark Salvo shot him and hit him. So the longer we fight this Pride, though, the more damage it does. It has this, you see a stacking dot on it. It's up to 23. I think it can go to 25. Maybe it goes to 30. We're about to find out if I target him again, but I'm not, because I'm trying to do damage. But anyway, it goes pretty high, really taxing on the mana. So this mob is not a gimme, you know what I mean? It's not just a free mob. It's not like Bwansamdi's stuff where you're literally in no danger. Yeah, it's got 30 stacks, so it looks like 30 is the cap here. So what we do here, I think no, we don't do it here. It must be later. But so we died there, pretty much a full wipe. There's only 2 of us alive. 3 people didn't get the buff really well. Seismo got it because he was still dead. But it was not how you want to handle that. So instead, what we could have did, and I don't know if this is the right play or not, but whenever the mob de-engages, it just keeps its health pool. So if we wipe there and it had 1% health, we could come back and one-shot it and then use the buff like maximally, right? So it's like, it's probably better to just full wipe there and not finish it and then just get the buff and go on. But now I'm kind of like between 2 minds. I was like, oh, we got 20 seconds on this buff. We got to get moving. So I don't know. Yeah, I'm not really sure what that, if that same situation happens in live, I don't really know what to say. But yeah, I do want to readdress this because it didn't come through in the video well because I skipped through it. But I just want to point something out. So we pulled that giant pack out before the first boss. We killed the guy. We got the buff, okay? We have a huge damage buff. We use Bloodlust on the first boss of a dungeon, okay? We wipe at 1%. So that means we lost the buff from the Prideful Affix, and Bloodlust is gone. The key is over now, right? Like when you're pugging, nobody's going to continue doing that key. So that's like a huge morale loss, right? Like the biggest morale loss. Like it's already a problem when you wipe to a boss, especially on Tyrannical week, really to any week. But you can easily recover from it on many keys. But that is just that's it. Like I think you should be aware of that. Like that's actually a problem. And I don't think it's going to be solvable. But yeah, Forsworn Doctrine. I think that's a heal. Yeah, that's what that is. I'm pretty sure I can't actually. Yeah, you see the health going up. Let's see this happen again. Okay, so Forsworn Doctrine's going out. That's on the Mender. So yeah, originally I was unsure about the mob, but that's the Mender. And she's healing the Skirmisher. Yeah, you see the Skirmisher's health just went up. 54, going down to 40, going back up to 58, 63, 70, 69. So yeah, we want to interrupt that. Lots of things to interrupt in this dungeon, guys. It's really crazy. And honestly, this whole expansion, it's looking like this. There's a lot more cast, a lot more magic overall. A lot of magic that's not interruptible too. Like the Prideful mob, DK looks really good for the Prideful mob, not just because they have good magic defense, but because of AMZ. If I put AMZ down right at the end of the Prideful mob, that's going to be very beneficial. So anyway, yeah, more of these other drivers. These are the dot applying little birds. Very easy. Now we got another. Now here's another pack that I know we're going to have a problem with. Did we get no count from that, by the way? We got like 2%. Let's see. There's 5 mobs. And we got 3% count, I think. 53. Yeah, we got about 3% count from those 5 mobs. So that's something to keep in mind. I don't see how, like, you know, without Rogue, I don't see how you're going to stay under count in this dungeon. Although it's actually closer than you think it is. We'll talk about that in the end. But anyway, so again, Dark Salvo, just dodge. Praetor, he's just going to fly around. Inquisitor, this is a new mob type. I don't actually know what it does. Oh, wait. Is that the Inquisitor's just doing that Dark Lash again? So I don't know. The names of mobs, never been my specialty, but you can tell a lot of mechanics that can be interrupted. Probably should interrupt them. A lot of things to dodge, a lot of stuff on the ground. And again, this is going to be a pack where we are definitely going to have a anima dude spawn in the middle of it. And we were actually talking about this in Discord. This dude has now been dead for both of the spawns. The first one was good, but the second and third one, and the second one we actually pretty much wiped to, pretty much lost the buff because he was dead. It just didn't die fast enough. And we're like, dude, you gotta be here for this when it spawns, otherwise we're gonna wipe again. But yeah, it's gonna happen here. I think he's gonna get back in time. It's a long run back. The checkpoints in this dungeon are rough. And the bigger problem isn't the checkpoints, it's that you can't mount. Even though you're legitimately outside, most of the platforms you cannot mount on. Now, there are some that you can mount on, but yeah, he's almost back. So as soon as we kill that Praetor, that's going to take us to 60. And here's our buddy. I really like the way it looks, to be honest. It's kind of funny looking. But anyway, so now we have the same scenario. This time he's here at least, but we're going to fight this. He's going to get a bunch of extra stacks, basically, just because we're so slow, you know? So, and then I get stunned. I think somebody in range had it. So, again, I do think it's the responsibility of the other people to avoid it, because if the person who gets it just moves properly, it should be very easily, or is positioned properly more so, it should be very easy to try. But you see I throw down AMZ there, the extra range runs into it. We actually have 2 DKs, so we got mad AMZs. But yeah, if you see literally all 3 range, watch this. This is funny. This is pretty funny. So it's on me. I'm like, hey guys, look out. It's literally going to go through all 3 of you. And thanks for stopping by. It hits literally all 3. Well, actually, no, it hits the DK and then 2 of the range, not size. Well, he's the only one who survives. But that's a stun, and somehow they don't die. But anyway, that was the story of the night there. So not great. And I think we actually do wipe here. So this is actually probably, yeah, this is what we do. What I was just describing. I knew it happened here. So you see I'm going to try to whittle this thing down as low as possible. I'm going to get it pretty low, and then I'm just going to die. And then we're just going to come back. It's got 4% health. We're just going to die, and we're just going to come back. So you see I can't mount here. You can't mount until like the 3rd platform. This whole time we can't mount. Pretty ridiculous, honestly. We can mount on this platform. So now we're going to come up. I'm going to grab the manifestation. We're going to get the rest of the trash on this platform, and we're going to just, kill him, and we're going to use that buff. And that seems like, I mean, other than the wipe, other than the death and the time lost there, this seems like really good use of the buff, right? Now, anyway, the squad leader, it actually is pretty pain in the ass mob. It's going to make everything around it take way less damage. So it's not ideal. I mean, this buff is actually kind of wasted because we're not able to fully AoE, and you see people are trying to anyway. So what we really want to do is we want to nuke down that squad leader. I don't think there's any way to stop that aura. It's just like an aura. It's not a buff or anything. Don't think it could be spell stolen or nothing like that. But yeah, realistically, that is going to cause this pack to go very slow. As you see, the other mobs are above 80%, and that was with that buff. Buff's almost over now, 18 seconds left. So yeah, not the best. But anyway, yeah, same trash, standard stuff. Now again, if we went to the left side, it would have been different. But here we go. Now here is a very, very interesting part of the dungeon. We have a very hard trash pack coming up. Now there is the Kyrian buff in this dungeon. It's like a NPC on the ground that gives you a spear. If you throw the spear, it collides with any target and it will stun them, prevent them from casting, and make them take more damage. So this is a really good pack to use that on if you have it, which you should. I mean, again, I think these buffs are kind of designed around everybody, every group having one, but it's perfectly optional. Like, we do not need that buff at all. It sounds great, but it's not needed at all. Now I'm really struggling here. Playing Blood DK, obviously it's so much different than it is in BFA, but definitely playing it poorly on this pack. But the big problem here is we're not, so like the heals are going out. In fact, I think we're probably missing that happening, but I guess it's the Inquisitor healing. I know some heals go off here. Let's see if we can't see it happen, but Dark Lash, again, that's just kind of standard spam. And something's going to heal. There it is, Forsworn Doctrine going out. and Seismical knocks it back, so that's good. But yeah, definitely the squad leader is making this pack really, really elongated. That's why we were saying about any, big option you have here is probably one worth using. And I think I'm gonna go down here. He dies already. Maybe not. Oh yeah, it's healing. Something's healing. Yeah, Forsworn Doctrine. You see it. Mob is literally gone from 5% health to 50. So that is GG, as they say on the internet. Okay, so we're gonna run all the way back, and this time we got the buff. So you're gonna see me, or not me, but Latsu has this. It's the shaman. You're gonna see me grip them all together. Boom, and he's gonna throw it, and shazam! Look at that. So now they're all stunned, I believe, or silenced, or something. They can't do things. I know that's a good thing. And we're just gonna go absolutely berserks mode. See the damage, and that's really not even that high, to be honest. So that's pretty good. So the mob dies really quick. The skull is the main thing. We just need to interrupt, which we do this time successfully. And again, just make sure you use Death Strike. So yeah, you see I'm taking arcane damage. I mean, I think that was from that debuff, but it's actually, I'm taking more magic damage than I am physical damage right now. More magic damage than physical damage up until that point. And I mean, there was some casts, but realistically, it's kind of just going to happen. Like, I mean, sure, a lot of that could be interrupted, dispelled maybe, but yeah, realistically, it's just damage that I'm taking. You know what I mean? It's just part of the pack, and I'll have to deal with that. So, but anyway, so that's that. So now we got this boss here. It takes us a very long time to kill this boss, and I think I want to zoom through it a bit here. I want to see if I can find. I know it takes us a long time to kill it, so I'm going to go ahead and see if we could find when it dies, because very interesting encounter. This looks like this might be the pull. We lust for it. Okay, great. All right, so let's talk a little bit about this boss here. So we spent a long time on this fight, a good, I mean, maybe 30 minutes or so. And it's actually not that hard of a fight. It's just, yeah, again, kind of overtuned. So I have these grenades that I'm going to throw. There's like 5,000 damage. Better than nothing. But anyway, so let's talk a little bit about this encounter. Extremely simple encounter. You've basically just seen all the mechanics right there. So what it did was, it's called Dark Stride. It's going to blink, kind of shadow step to a player, okay? That player is then going to get a really long bleed put on them. It's on the shaman there. He has that on him for an extended period. Let's just say that. But more importantly, for most keys, I'd imagine, is that it's going to drop this little black circle on the ground. Now, that black circle is going to do almost exactly what the bird did, as you see in the first fight. And then it's also going to do this blinding flash. Now, this goes infinitely. I've had it where the boss is over here, and I was on the opposite side of the room, and it literally extended all the way across the room and still hit me. So just don't be in front of the boss when blinding flash happens. But this is a little strategy element that I want to discuss. So we came to the agreement that it'd be better to stack these first two. While this mechanic is still very easy to dodge, these never go away, by the way. These clouds shooting this out, they never go away. So actually, you see, it just picked him again. So it just refreshed the dot on him. So he's had this dot now for almost 50% of the boss's health. And of course, it's really not that dangerous. The boss dies quick, but it is going to be an issue. And blinding flash, I got knocked up. I almost got blinded there. But you see, I got two of them right on top of each other, because wherever he is, when he charges, that's where he leaves the cloud. And I think this is really important, because one, you want to know where they're coming from, but two, you're gonna see that when he does this recharge, he like greatly empowers this cloud, and it's gonna shoot them out way, way more. So let's take a look here. I don't know exactly why this happens, but yeah, it's gonna shoot out like 5 at a time or something like that. So you see, we have both of them coming almost at the exact same angle. So it's a lot easier to dodge them, a lot easier to keep them in a central location. Now, what I wanted to do is I wanted to move him so the melee didn't have to lose uptime on it. Because obviously, if you have to dodge these very often, it's going to be very difficult to keep attacking. But unfortunately, the second this recharge ends, he does another one of those charges. So it's almost, unfortunately, you're just kind of screwed. If you're melee, you're going to have to deal with it. So what my overarching strategy here was I wanted to keep these all on this one area of the room. Because if they're coming from over here and over from the right and over to the left, they're going to cross. It's going to be very difficult to dodge both of them. They call it bullet hell or whatever, those kind of games. So you're going to be very difficult. You'd have to be very precise. and that's not really what I'd say a lot of Mythic Plus pugs are known for. So as you see, it now put one in the center, and again, it picked the Shaman. So literally the whole fight, he's had this dot on him. And again, it's actually really tough to heal. Sarah's having a hard trouble, and it's mostly just overtuned, I would say. We're under geared, maybe more one of the two, but anyway, so now they're both coming from the same way. And Sizemore actually notes that even though they're both coming from kind of different angles, he's still able to get far enough away that they both come from the same angle with respect to where he is. But for me, it's going to be a lot harder to dodge. And luckily, we do end up getting the kill here. We actually had a 1% wipe, but he's just going to go down, maybe because he's getting hit by stuff, but also because he had that bleed the whole fight. So Sarah now has the bleed, and it's going to be very lethal on the healer. Ideally, the healer getting it. Now this is really where like mages or demon hunters or paladins in general are going to really shine on a fight like this, because one, they're extra bulky. You know what I mean? They're going to have a lot more resilience for a mechanic like that. And then, they could even immune it off, I presume. Latsu actually tried using that drink from the warden dude from the Covenant. Did not work. Did not remove the bleed. I don't know if it's supposed to, but it didn't. Now, what I said there, you couldn't hear it, but I said, don't take this yet. I told that to Sarah because I did not want her to get the debuff again. If she got the bleed again, I feared that we would wipe, because if she dies, it's over. But if everybody else dies, her and I can still finish the fight, which has happened now a couple times. We pretty much wiped right at the end here, because now there's just stuff everywhere. They're constantly knocking people up. It's harder to dodge, and it's just really hectic. But yeah, okay, so there it is on her now. But at this point, we're thinking like, hey, you know what? The fight's at 4%. I think we got it. And blinding flash coming out. So really, again, I don't know, overtuned, oversuck. I don't know. One of the two, but this was very difficult. And I think we could upgrade it. Certainly, we actually talked about that today. I think it's definitely possible that we upgraded it, but it's like you have to play perfectly. A single mistake is a death at this level, and this is only 15. So, okay, so now we're moving on to the second half. That was only 2 bosses, guys. We're 30 minutes in, so that was very complicated start to the dungeon. But for the most part, it's nothing special. So now we have this Hellion here. Now we basically have completely different trash on this half of the dungeon. This mob is going to do a very complicated mechanic, or one that caused complications for the players we ran with. It's called this crescendo here. So you're going to see it. It's, again, cardinal directions, okay? So it's going to be based on it's going to shoot out where she's facing, where she's like the opposite, and then left and right? That's what it looks like to me. One behind, one in front, and then one to the side, kind of going that way. So I don't really think it's that hard to dodge, but we're pulling it alone, and that's mostly because the timer is just way past. I didn't want to risk anything. Realistically, you're probably going to combine this pack with the next pack, which is going to mean 2 Hellions. So what do you think? Are you going to want to do that as a tank? A little risky. 2 of them might be very difficult to dodge. Plus, there's other mechanics, but as you see, crescendo, yeah, just shoots out the direction she's facing. Now, the trick maybe is that she turned right after she did it. So if you're not 100% aware, you might get hit. But anyway, it's pretty straightforward. Okay, so now we have another pack here, a Warden, a Hellion, and a Devastator. Now, I think the Warden is the one that does like the real heal. This Devastator is another mob type. It's going to do Dark Pulse. And I believe it's just like actually like the Pokemon Dark Pulse. Just does a ton of dark type damage. Going to be 3 times super effective to somebody that's so pure. But no, anyway, yeah, you just can't let that cast go off. Yet again, it's going to be very dangerous. So we're actually getting snapped up here by these, that Hellion's damage. It's also doing like a radiant AoE, kind of just shooting out things. And there's the crescendo. So you see I'm in good position to dodge it. And the Warden is doing the heal. It's greater heal. Looks like a priest ability. So I think I gripped it to interrupt it. Actually, I think I might have failed based on what I saw in the footage. But so anyway, that's pretty standard trash. We got 80% coming up here, though. And again, a bunch of deaths. So let's see. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to run backwards. I want to make sure that everybody, we have the best chance to survive this as possible, or we just wipe. And I think the dude's up there, look at, he's like just going on a rampage up there. He's like, hunger. He's just killing us, right? But anyway, so what we're going to do here is I'm actually going to tank him over the corner here. I was under the impression that he stayed there, because that's happened a couple times. Wherever you wipe, he just stays. I've seen that happen quite a lot, but that doesn't happen here. He's still there. He actually resets all the way up the stairs. So I think we could solo pull him, but I don't You know, do we do that? Oh, yeah, I guess we do. But anyway, yeah, we're just at this point, Key's so depleted that it doesn't matter. But in reality, we probably should have just chained him, or at least got him closer to more trash to get good use out of the buff. But nothing special here. Just, again, AMZ really powerful. Another death on the healer, but not that big a deal. We can just res, I guess. Or at this point, we probably just wait. Yeah, or we just go with that because this is actually just the one Hellion. And as you see, what is going on in this group? Boom, crescendo coming out. Let's see. Yep, that's exactly what I expected it to. The problem is they're getting hit because I think she's turning. Like she's doing the mechanic and it's got maybe like a second of a buffer or something, and then it turns. So it kind of like you kind of get confused about where it's going, I guess. I don't know. All right, so anyway, more of the same. Justicar, Warden, Devastator. I think these are the same mobs we've seen the whole time. Actually, Forced Confession. This is a different mob type, but more of this Dark Lash. So yeah, I just want to keep this robot interrupted. Again, it's going to do that shield, I'm pretty sure. So you see that Dark Pulse gets off. Did hit the DK for quite a lot. It sounds like it might be an AoE or something like that. But yeah, not really. That Forced Confession looks like it put a circle around somebody. I wonder if that's dispellable. So that's that. Okay, and then he did the shield again. Forced Confession. So I stunned that. Easy mode. Okay, so again, now here we got some things to think about here. We got 90% coming up. Now, this pack is actually, I want to show this transition here. This pack is actually perfectly skippable. I've done it many times. The thing is, there's stuff going on the left and right. It looks like trash, but it's actually kind of just RP. You could easily not pull this. And the way I've not pulled it is going all the way kind of dead to the right, like a full 90 degrees from where we're facing, and then just going around the corner, and you can go right to the back and to the boss. But I didn't feel like we needed it because last time we did that, I don't think we even had count. We had to come back down and kill them. So it's definitely an option, and it might not be a bad option because it's just like on Reaping, when you kill the final 90, like you go from to 100% after the dungeon's over, the mob. Okay, I just died there. What was that? Is that the Forced Confession mechanic? Yeah, I see. I have this dawn on me. I want to see this, and then we'll continue that train of thought there. Forced Confession. Yep, that's it. It's on me. Yeah, see, she put it on me, and it's gonna either, I guess, do a lot of damage, or yeah, it's gonna start shooting out those things from me. So that's why I died, because I probably got hit by them. But anyway, what was this saying? Yeah, so you can easily come back and get count later and then skip the final mob. Now, unlike Reaping, there's not a guaranteed benefit to that, right? Like, if you can use the buff from the mob, that's way better than skipping it, obviously. But it is kind of just dead count. Like when you're at 100% count, there's no reason to kill it, right? So I don't know. What do you guys think? Is that going to be a play or not? This is a very easy dungeon to do that on because the count doesn't require any easy skipping. Really, I don't see much that you can skip in this dungeon, like why you would skip it, because you'd be under count just kind of naturally. But there is a lot of trash in this room, and it makes me wonder that if you pull it, will you get count from it? Like you see all these things on the left here. We'll go, yeah, you can see a ton of stuff on the left and right? Those are interactable, like you could attack them. So presumably they give count. They're called usurpers. I wonder if they're just like completely different mob type that maybe is really dangerous. I don't know. Now this fight is very interesting, and again, takes us a couple pulls, but I want to see when we eventually get the kill. I think it's got to be this one. Okay, so let's take a look at this pull here because I think this is probably the one here. Now I really like this fight. This is another one of my fights. I love this fight actually. So what we got two little markers here. We'll just go through the fight, but long story short, you're going to see this in a couple fights in Shadowlands. There's going to be a mechanic where all 5 players are going to place a thing on the ground, and then that thing on the ground is going to spawn an orb that if the orb gets to the boss, it's going to do something really bad. And in this case, I think it just does AoE damage. In other cases, it heals. In the other dungeon, it healed. But so let's just go through the whole fight because this is actually a really well scripted encounter. And you can already see it all in DBM. So the first mechanic that happens, let's take a look. It's coming up right now. Purifying Blast. So originally we tried stacking because we wanted to just have as little movement as possible, drop all the circles on the ground. Can't do that. That Purifying Blast will hit others in that circle. So you see it's going to put a magic debuff on Sizing Wheel there. It's a relatively big dot, but realistically, it's not that big of a deal. Now, this Charge Stomp is going to put a magic debuff on me. It's going to do ticking magic damage. It's also a slow. But again, if anybody's in front of the boss, they're going to get hit too. So again, another reason you can't stack. It's actually pretty big slow. So I could AMS that, prevent that application. But I do not want to do that because you're going to see why in a second. So here we go. Imperial Ordnance is going to put arrows in everybody's head. When this cast ends, we're going to drop a circle. That circle is going to spawn an orb. So you see, I'm getting my best to get there because I'm so slow I couldn't do it. I should have blinked, but I didn't. Anyway, so we have them all kind of in a line. Now, those things are going to spawn orbs. So now the mechanics keep repeating. So Purifying Blast, make sure the person doesn't hit anybody else with it. Only on him. Charge Stomp, just magic damage, arcane damage. So again, another tank breaker that's magic, which is pretty different. But it's dispellable afterwards, so just use a defense. Now here, it's going to happen again. So that time it was like 3 mechanics, then the ordnance thing. Then now it's going to be 2 rounds. So now another blast and another tank mechanic. And then again, we're going to want to stack up. So charge time. So I'm trying to move the boss because I know it's coming out. This time I'm going to blink over there. We're going to drop them all together. Now watch this. So he's going to cast Recharge Anima. As he does, these things are going to formulate into orbs, okay? Anima fields coalesce and are recalled to recharge Oryphrion. So they're going to spawn orbs, and they're going to come out at different paces, but they're eventually all going to spawn an orb. If the orb gets to them, very bad. That's all you need to know. So I'm going to get it. As you see, anti-magic shield is up, and I am not getting the debuff. It puts a debuff on you. Basically, the way this one works is you want to get hit. Like, you want as few people to get hit as possible because you see I have 5 stacks of debuff. There's 10 orbs. If I soaked all 10, I would probably just die. So you'd kind of want maybe, everybody to take a few stacks, basically. Now, I do think he also got hit by them because he has 4 stacks. I have 5, but I AMS'd at least 4 of them. So I don't see how he has stacks. It must be because he was too close to me when I soaked them. So another thing to think about. But yes, AMS, very, very powerful there. So what I think the goal is here is you want to stack all 10 right on top of each other and then just AMS all 10. Thanks for stopping by, mechanic. And it should be back up. I mean, it might not be, but I don't think it's going to be an issue as long as I use it at the right time. So yeah, again, with this mechanic, a little slow reacting this time. All of us we're like, oh my God, we did it. You know what I mean? We're like, hey, it's over. No, it's not even close to over. But this time they're all going to be a little spread out. But it's still fine because as long as they come from the same angle, I can AMS a lot of them. In fact, what would be better was for me not to go after them, for me to just let them come to the boss. I didn't do that because I was worried when I tested this on 10 other keys. The problem was it actually got to the boss, like, it hit the boss even though they weren't even near the boss. So I think the boss's like collection range is way closer than it looks. So I'm just going to run kind of place it where it was. And the thing is, if the boss is in this field, you see as a buff, it makes him do like more damage or something. So you can't just tank him in the field. I don't necessarily know why you would. I did kind of by accident. But again, Charge Stomp actually turns and hits the DK. Did he taunt? I mean, I feel like something happened. Something weird happened there. Yeah, maybe it's because I'm out of range. I don't really know, but anyway, so now they're going to spawn, and we're going to struggle to pick up the pieces here, but I do think we get it. And it's a funny little thing happens here. Oh man, Sizing Wheel is like, here, you know what? I want to let's listen to this.
He's out of anima now. He's charging.
Let's listen to this play out. All right, so I'm going to AMS. Quickly going. So Sizing Wheel is going to get a couple. He's going to get a lot of the ones. Yeah, he's going to get a couple of the ones that are out of position, and I'm going to get the rest. Now listen to this.
One more. Anybody? Hello?
It's good enough. So, yeah, not great. It hits the boss, does a little damage.
I'm at 4 stacks. Everyone's sitting here with 0 stacks. Louts is just fucking...
I had
I love how no matter what goes wrong, you immediately blame him. It's hilarious. They have such a funny relationship, those two. Like, I said before on stream, like, literally all 5 of us could, like, fall off a conveyor belt and die. And he's going to be like, friggin' Latsu, he didn't do this or that. It's so funny. Anyway, yeah, that's the boss. So really cool encounter. I love that encounter. Probably one of my favorite encounters in the game. And that's pretty much it. Really neat. So now we're going to fly up. Now, that's a really long bit of RP here. It's actually like a really tall kind of like building that we're flying up. Facade kind of thing, and it's going to be on top of here that we're going to fight the final boss. But more importantly, we're going to fight some of the hardest trash in the game that I've seen to date. And I still don't really know how to do this. Let's talk a little bit about it. You might be able to see there's going to be 3 like named mobs with a ton of health, so they have 350k each. Now, it's harkening back to a thing all the way from Cataclysm where they're kind of linked, and when you kill one, the other 2 get the ability. So let's talk about this. So Klodos, that's let's just look at it from the way you would face it when you're on the platform. It's a little disorienting. So we'll see. So yeah, there's the right. That's Klodos. We're gonna fight him first. So anyway, it's right. He's gonna put this dot. You see this debuff he has? It's gonna be a stacking dot on us. That's just gonna stack to 30 and just do a ton of damage over time. It's gonna get harder and harder as time goes. Then there's the one on the left. I believe, from what I can see, the only thing it does is like shoot a spear out that does more of this kind of radial, kind of like projectile thing. And then the one in the middle makes us take more damage, stacks to 30 and takes up to like 50% more damage, or even more than that, maybe. I don't know. But so what I did originally was I pulled all 3 of them together, because what you want to try to eliminate here is like there being one super one, right? If you could do that. Now, when I did that, we killed them all 3 almost at the exact same time, and that worked fine. But then last week when I came in here, I suggested we do that, and people were like going nuts. They're like, no, you can't do that, not an option. And I was like, I know it's hard, but it's going to be the way you do it. And they're like, we'll wipe, you won't be able to do it. I'm like, no, I've done it. It's not that big a deal. But what they said was they actually heal each other now. I see when they grant them the buff, they heal each other. So maybe that's the case. But I think what happens is the buff has a few seconds to disperse before it heals. So I think you actually can do this. You can pull all 3, and as long as they die at the same time, there will not be a heal. Now, the reason I wanted to do that is because, as you see, we now have 22 seconds left of this dot that's going to continue to accrue stacks if we pulled another one. Because now both of them, the 2 remaining mobs, have that debuff associated with them as well, because we killed the mob and it passed its essence on. So if we went and pulled another one, we're going to go all the way up to 30 stacks. So this is incredibly complicated trash. I don't know what the actual answer is going to be here if you're not able to pull all 3 at once. It sounds really dangerous, but reality is it's probably way better if it was possible, because they're going to die so much faster. So you just have to commit all your offense to doing this. And it's actually a really good idea to do this, because regardless of the affixes, this next boss is a complete joke. It does so little. It's such an easy boss. One of the easiest that I've done on the beta. So really, if you pull all your offense into getting this done right, it's actually a really good option. But if it's not an option to pull all 3, if that's not an option because they heal immediately after you kill one, so even if you had them all at 1%, you still fail, they'd all heal to full, then I don't know what to do. So we'll find that out together over time. Make some suggestions, especially if you've done it. I don't know yet, but one way or the other, all I know right now is when you're not in, a race against a timer, what we've been doing is literally just waiting, 30 seconds or whatever it is after the mobs die. Because you see how much damage we're taking. And the arcane damage is the dot. So again, taking more arcane damage than I am physical damage. And it's just really wrecking us, causing a lot of havoc because there's all these spears on the ground too. And they're all shooting out these mechanics. So the spear, realistically, what we probably should have done was left first, because this spear is definitely the least dangerous. I mean, it does a lot of damage if you get hit by it, but very easily we could just move the mob if we had to. I'm kind of just tanking it. No reason to do that, really. But anyway, I do think we kill this here. Now we're going to get the final 100% here. So that's going to ultimately be the nail in the coffin for this combat. We're going to wipe here. Our dude is just going to come out and finish it. But this is fine, because now he's just going to be up there, and we can go back and get him for the boss. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to actually pull the trash that remains first. Then we're going to kill the dude and use him for the boss. Unfortunately, we're going to wipe anyway, so to no avail. But, in a perfect world, that's how you would do it. So we're coming up. So now, again, this final... Oh, actually, we chose not to do that. Yeah, I said we could do that. But instead, since we're probably going to wipe on the boss, we'll just use the dude to kill the trash easier, because the trash actually be really difficult. So that's what we're going to do here. But again, this guy's perfectly skippable. If we skip that pack right in front of the third boss, we could get him after the dungeon if we wanted to, and we would never have to fight him. Whether or not that's a good idea, I don't know. And again, actually, the same thing happened again. We just straight up wiped to that. So it's getting a little bit long, but you see he's over there with freaking 3% health, 17k health. I could easily solo that. So just come up. Everybody has to be in range. If you're dead, it's fine. As long as your corpse is within 100 yards, I believe, you get the buff. So if you release, you do not get the buff. But if you're dead, obviously, you know, you're then gonna have to be res. So it's a bit of a gamble to stay dead. But anyway. Okay, so yeah, now it does this diminuendo, another frontal cleave, but as you see, we're getting a stack of something that looks like the old Sunder Armor icon. That's just making us take more damage on top of the dot. So all of these things are really adding up to pretty painful circumstances. But again, if you try to do this all in quick succession, I have no idea how you would. It would be extremely dangerous. And like I said, to me, the only option seems like if you pull all three at the same time, and you just got to keep them really even because apparently they heal. And I don't know if that's an option or not. That might not work. I did it once, and I don't know. Maybe we got lucky. Maybe it was bugged. Maybe they changed it. I don't know. But that was the only way I've ever seen this go well. So, okay, so let's talk about this last boss now. I think we do quite a few pulls. I'm going to cycle around until we get... It's got to be one of these. Let's just go to the end. Let's see here. Yeah, okay, so this is the last pull. Okay, great. So this is actually a really, really easy encounter. And again, I really like this encounter. Really fun encounter because again, everything's very well scripted. It goes like very obviously. It's a very like normal order. There's no tricks. There's never a weird pattern or anything that I've seen. So we'll go through the fight and I'll explain everything. Now, one of the main portions of this fight is this orb. Don't worry about it. I don't think it's supposed to be there right now, but it is a major portion of the encounter. So maybe it is, but I don't know. So anyway, we're going to pull the boss. She does very little mechanics, but they're all extremely important. Like so much that if you don't do them right a single time, you're going to wipe. So here we go. Spawns a circle, a little sphere, a shell over there, okay? So how this works is if you're in that shell, you take like 70% or something less damage from this ability she just did there, Seed of the Abyss. That Seed of the Abyss is going to go on the ground. It's going to grow over time. When it reaches its full radius, it explodes and you die. If you're not in the shield, you're not surviving. It does like 150k. You will not survive. So you get in the shield, and that's it. It sounds easy, but the reason it's not easy is because there's two other mechanics that make it a little bit difficult to stack. So what we're doing here is we're taking note of the shield. The seeds out. Okay, so I said shields out. Look for it. Seeds out. Now we're paying attention. We're going to get close to the shield. But there's one more mechanic. She's going to charge at a person. So what we want to do is we want to bait that away from the shield. It's perfectly possible to just stand in the shield and eat the charge, but it's not ideal. That's not how you should do it. So you should do what we're doing here. We're going to bait the thing, and then we're going to move in at the last second. So you see, here's the seed. You have until this thing fills up the whole circle. So a good 5 seconds. And here comes the charge. See, run through. That's the charge. It's going to go this way, meaning we can safely go into the shield and we will not take damage from it. So we're going to see 0 damage taken from run through, stay in the shield until the seed explodes. And that is literally it. Now it also does this lost confidence. This is a magic debuff. Very easy to deal with. It can be dispelled. When it's dispelled, as you see, it drops a little black puddle on the ground. If you stand in that, you get a dot, which is central to the rest of the fight. But otherwise, it's just rinse and repeat. Shell spawns, take note of where it is. Maybe move a little closer, especially if you're slow or it's really far away. Then seed spawns. This means you have a few seconds you need to bait. So there's seed. Now we're saying bait, 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 bait. Good. Get in, get in, get in, get in. In fact, I think we'll let the audio play for a bit here because I think we do call it out very well. So lost confidence. Again, just you can dispel or just heal through it. Oh yeah, we actually missed it. So we'll come back to that. But anyway, so this mechanic is very interesting. Now, what's going to happen here is there's a spear in the middle. It's very important. It's probably like some lore target. There's 5 orbs that have to be brought to the spear to activate it. Once they are activated, you grab the spear and you throw it at Devos, who's, by the way, a main character from that first animated short that Blizzard released. But anyway, you're going to get the spear activated. You're going to throw it at her. It's a skill shot. You have to hit it. If you fail, you're really bad. That's bad. That's really bad. Because the longer you're in this phase, you get a stacking debuff. It looks like Affliction, Warlock ability, Seed of Corruption, and it's just going to stack up. So basically what you want to do here is, see there's 5 orbs here. Now, I had one originally because I think it's something a little bugged. I was able to pick one up from the previous fight. I still had it, so I don't think that's intended. But anyway, I was able to do that and keep using it. I made it go a little quicker. But anyway, what I think you want to do here is have one person at each of these. They always seem to spawn from this side, and then they go this way, and then they come back. based on this win pattern here. So basically, you just have 5 people stand there, quickly run over, shoot the spear, and you're going to have like 1 stack of this thing. We had up to 7 or 8 stacks, very difficult to heal. So you see I'm going to run over, get this one. Actually, almost failed to get it. Look at that. We don't even need this one. We already got all 5. We're going to shoot it, and Sarah's dispelling. So there you go. The most we see is 3 stacks, 4 stacks. 4 or 5. So yeah, very easily. And then you could just keep dispelling it. If the person has it high, you could AMS it as well. So that's pretty much it. It's a really interesting encounter. Okay, shield is out. Here, listen. Seed is out. Bait and get it. Yep. See, that's just it. It's that easy. You just rotate through the 3 abilities, and that's it. 100% of the fight is those 2 things. So the big thing here is just making sure that middle phase goes really well, because if it takes really long, it's going to get out of control. You know, if you get like 10 stacks of that dot, or more so, you miss Devos. Now, the problem with it, you're probably not going to see it in this footage. I did it a lot when I was pugging this key. I pick up the shield, I pick up the spear and throw it, and she freaking dodges it. Like, she can move, okay? And she actually moved. Like, if you pick it up at the wrong time and throw it at the wrong time, she's going to move and you're going to miss. Like, even though she was where you were when you threw it, by the time it's really far throw. And by the time the throw hits, she might have moved. So that could be a huge error. And it's almost to the point where I feel like you want to learn these patterns and just, you know, not throw it unless you're sure it's going to hit her. So there, the DK dies to that dot that was on him. It does do a fair amount of damage. And again, we were having a lot of trouble healing through a lot of this damage. But one way or the other, there's also stuff on the ground that we're standing into. So, but yeah, I guess, you know, the longer the fight goes, the more little circles there are going to be on the ground. You see Sarah has, that's the Resto Druid. She has a dot. That's the same dot from phase 2 thing. That's from standing in that circle on the ground. So if you stand in that, you get the dot as well. But that's actually, it looks like they go away over time. So yeah, not that dangerous. Really interesting encounter. Nice little cat form there to get here. So this is a great fight. I love this fight. I love everything about this dungeon, honestly. Aesthetically, it's brilliant. Oh, and if you get pulled through the thing, it also gets an extra dot. You might have noticed that there. Let's see. We can see it happen here. So yeah, so here I'm like ready in position. I got one. Look at that. Now people are going to get, the little gray thing is going to get pulled through them. See, he's already got 4 stacks, 6 stacks, 7 stacks. And that's because he's standing in this thing, the thing. Which is, you know, unfortunate. Now I'm getting a bunch of stacks too. So, but anyway, again, AMZ, you got 6 and 8 stacks on players. Just stand in the AMZ, guys. Really easy. This is a great time to lust too. So again, all your offense is kind of irrelevant. The faster you do this fight doesn't really make it any easier. It's extremely straightforward encounter. There's no reason to rush through it. Just make sure you do the mechanic every time it comes out, and that's it. So yeah, like I said, you could easily, if it's possible, you could easily use all your offense on the trash before it, and then by the time the final phase comes, your stuff will be back up. And that is our first 15, obviously not in time, but our first 15 completed on the beta. So let me know what you think of Spires of Ascension. Very unique dungeon. It is a max level dungeon, not a normal dungeon, so this is more obviously aimed at Mythic Plus, but regardless, a lot of this will transfer into probably even normal and Mythic. So if you have any questions, let me know. My main goal here is keeping you guys in the know, so when this expansion launches, you are ready for this stuff. You're not trying to learn it, you know, a month in or down the road or something like that. Get prepared now. Tell your friends, get them prepared now, because I'm telling you, the difference between, you know, a good player and a player who's going to struggle in season 1 of this expansion is all about prior explanations, prior understanding of these encounters. So you go in here already knowing what to do before you have to do it. And that is really going to slow you down. If you're not ready for it, I'm telling you, you're going to want to get ready.